Mafs Australia, Wednesday the 12th of February, episode 12. Obviously I live in the UK, so I don't get to see this when it's on, and I don't get to see it until a few hours later. So when I woke up this morning and I went on TikTok, the first 3 videos that came up were about Mafs and the cheating scandals and what's been going on with Tony, and it was all so much drama. I was like, oh my god, I need to watch this dinner party. We see Tony and Mirena getting ready for the dinner party, and the producers have obviously set them up in this position because it's such an unnatural way to be sitting. He was like sitting in the arm of the couch and she was putting her makeup on in this tiny wee powder puff mirror with a big brush. It just didn't make any sense. And then when he says, oh, I wonder who's going to be under fire at the dinner party, she's like, oh, I think it'll be us, Tony. And one thing that I can't stand about her, I mean, there's many things that I can't stand about her, but one thing in particular is that she says his name all the time. And even before I knew that she liked Titanic, she reminded me of Titanic, because when you're watching that, they're always going, hey Jack, Rose, Jack, Rose, Jack. It's too much. You don't need to say people's names that often. And she's constantly saying his name. It does my head in. She's in a huff because he went away for the weekend. And can anybody blame him? And by the way, does anybody know the actual timeline between dinner parties? Because when they were at the dinner party, she says, oh, does your partner go away every weekend? Does he go away every weekend? But I thought that the dinner parties were every week. Please enlighten me if you know the answer. So, of course, you can say that this programme is edited in a certain way, but when she was sitting in that car, she was obviously raging, and even the way she was speaking to the driver, like, stop, stop, you can stop here, this is the door, like a pure bitch. And Tony's just sitting there like, what the fuck? Before the dinner party, some of the girls had been gossiping about what Ryan said about Jackie, and when I woke up this morning, I seen something that she had posted saying, why didn't the girls come to me before the dinner party? I feel humiliated. And while I absolutely do not like Jackie, I agree. Why didn't anybody go to your room and say, by the way, do you know that Ryan's saying this about you behind your back? Like, just to make you aware, the guys are going to bring it up at the dinner party so that you're not blindsided. And I did think that was a bit cruel. Ryan and Jackie were going to the dinner party wearing matching colours, walking in there pretending to be the couple of the year. It was pretty embarrassing. When the girls were chatting before dinner and they were asking Jackie if she had been intimate with Ryan, and she said no, and the girls were all kind of looking at each other, and Jamie was like, oh, let's go and get a drink. I felt like that was a bit out of order as well. They could have at least warned her then. Like, why didn't they bring it up? Bringing it up at the dinner table, I think, was just a bit rude. So they two are making out as if intimacy week has been so amazing, and this is about we had some issues, and Billy said, oh, it was one of the issues that he called you crazy eyes, and she handled this like as if she totally knew what was happening. She's like, oh, I have got crazy eyes, I like having crazy eyes, it's fun having crazy eyes. It got to the point where it was a bit embarrassing. I mean, it is possible that she wasn't offended. As I said when Jake was making the comments about the women, if you told me I had crazy eyes, or if I looked as if I was going to stand at the bottom of the bed and kill you, I would find that funny. And she was saying that she did find it funny, and it was like a joke between the two of them, so who knows? As we know, she thinks she's God's gift to mankind, so I don't think that she would take any insult about her looks funny. So then they bring up the fact that he says they're being intimate and she says they're not, and told her what he said to the boys. Now, well, in some ways I think it isn't really anybody's business if you don't want to disclose that information, but then I also think that's part of the experiment. You go in there, you sign a contract to say that you're going to talk about all these things with the experts and the other couples at the dinner party, so it is kind of their business. So then she loses it and she says, I do agree that you shouldn't be disrespectful about your wife. All you should be saying is, I'm the most amazing woman in the world, I'm the most beautiful woman in the world. She's an absolute fruitcake. But then she brings up the fact that he put her third in the lineup of women again. She's absolutely obsessed. She is entitled to be upset about that, but I feel as if he's done way worse things since then. Jackie went away to the toilet and came back. It looked as if the conversation had changed, but it could be just the way it was edited. And then Mirena decided to chime in, and the way she speaks to people is so aggressive. The way she shouts, the way she points and like leans into people. And Ryan deserved to be shouted at, but she was doing it like a school teacher, and it was a bit cringy. Before the dinner party, Paul had mentioned that he heard Mirena out in the corridor screaming, and I didn't doubt him for a second. So he says to her, well, how's your relationship going? Well, when Paul told Mirena that he heard her shouting out in the corridor, she went mental. how dare you? How dare you? I was like, what the fuck is her issue? It was actually bizarre to watch. What was really bizarre to me is that she was saying, look into my eyes and come closer. How's he supposed to come closer? He's sitting in his seat. What the fuck do you want him to do? Crawl across the table? It was so weird. And I believe that he heard her shouting out in the corridor. And then when she was saying, how dare you, like making him out to be a liar, she was totally gaslighting the whole room. She wasn't doing a very good job at it, right enough. And that, like, being so aggressive and being like, look into my eyes, that's an intimidation tactic. And the more she was speaking, the more I thought, I don't think that she was the one that was abused in her marriage. And I know that sounds harsh to say, but I have known people in the past who have done similar things and blamed the man. And people just are willing to accept that it's the man that's doing the abusing. But in this case, I genuinely doubt what she's saying. I've also known women who have attacked men and then contacted the police and says that the men attacked them because they're psychopaths. I have said in other videos, maybe it's PTSD, where she's went through this 29-year loveless marriage where she's been abused, and now she's been single for 7 years, and I understand that people can come out of that and then be like, nobody will ever do that to me again, and they try and change the way they are. But do they change the way they are to become the person who's doing the shouting and the pointing and the screaming and the accusing all the time? I'd like to hear from her ex-husband. And when she said to Paul, I'm not finished, you listen to me, little boy, or whatever it was she said, imagine if Tony spoke to one of the women like that. There would be an uproar. I'm sick of women thinking that they can speak to men in whatever way they want and get no repercussions for it. What also confused me is that Serena didn't say anything, not that we've seen on camera anyway, but if that was my man, I'd be like, Morena, you might be comfortable speaking to your man like that, but don't speak to my man like that. But she didn't say anything, and I know that a lot of people don't like conflict, but there's no way that I'd allowed her to speak to him like that. And I know that people go, oh, she's older, she deserves respect. Fuck that. I don't believe in it. If you speak to me a certain way, I don't care what age you are. So she had an absolute cheek to say, oh, I'm not taking advice for these young people, or whatever it was she said. She's obviously just a fucking stuck-up old boot. And I thought, she has got an absolute cheek because she's the one who's in her 50s. She's been single for 7 years and she stayed in a loveless marriage for 29 years. Maybe she should be taking advice for them. Once again, Tony tried to speak and she spoke over him. She wouldn't let anybody talk because she thinks, oh, I'm the older, wiser woman. She hasn't got a fucking clue. She's a cheeky bitch. Even Jamie said, I wouldn't mess with Morena because you'd find a dead fish at your door. No, I'm sorry. I don't care what age you are. If you want to be crazy with me, I'll crank it up times 10. She's absolutely out of order. I'm one of those people that would have said at the table, are you sure that you were the one who was being abused in your marriage? Because you're giving off abusive vibes here. Are you okay? Do you need to speak to somebody? Now, I'm not saying that Tony's perfect, but one thing that they haven't mentioned in the show is that Tony's actually still married and he's still in love with his wife. And apparently this was revealed on the sofa, but the producers decided to keep it out of the show. So okay, he's not innocent. But at least he's not shouting and screaming and pointing and just being a complete fucking arsehole. One thing that I found a bit strange about Paul is that he says to Adrian, oh, you told me that if your relationship went fine, then you would move over with Athena and look after a child as if it was yours. And he was like, I didn't say that. So why did Paul make that up? At the end of the show, we've seen Adrian and Sarah playing footsie under the table, and this is what I had seen videos about this morning, and I actually seen an interview with Billy, and the interviewer was saying, oh, I thought the two of you were really into each other and blah blah blah, and I was like, oh my god, she was like cheating on him in the show. What a bitch. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I haven't trusted him from the start. He's always gave me the creeps. So it turns out he's a total skis bag, but she's better off without him anyway. Let me know what you thought of today's episode, and I'll see you again on Sunday. So far away.